Okay, let's fire up a Headspace Sleepcast called Rainday Antiques, narrated by Simon.
Hello there. Thanks for joining us for tonight's visit to Rainday Antiques. If you're looking for somewhere snug to relax, it's the non-pareil on any day of the week. But it's especially congenial on a rainy night like this. It almost seems to exist somewhere outside ordinary space and time. A shelter more than just the weather. Before we begin our visit, I think it's nice to start with a quick wind down. Tonight's wind down is an exercise we call noting. It helps to soothe the mind. And once you've learnt it, you can even use it if you wake up in the night. We're going to be counting our breaths and then just gently noting thoughts and feelings as they arise. We're not trying to change them. We're simply labeling thinking as thinking, feeling as feeling. It may sound incredibly simple, but it can help to create distance between ourselves and the thought, ourselves and the feeling, so we don't get so involved in it. That, in turn, creates a more restful state of mind. In other words, a perfect state of mind, a gentle, restful sleep. So, to begin with, just take a moment or two to get comfortable. Make sure you're nice and cool. Just starting with some nice, big, deep breaths. Breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth. And with the next out breath, allow the breath to return to its natural rhythm in and out through the nose. And just feeling the weight of the body pressing down into your bed. And in your own time, starting to count the breaths as they pass. 1 with the rise, 2 with the fall. Just up to a count of 10. When you get to 10, you can stop and start again at 1. And remember, anytime you get distracted, the moment you realize you're distracted by thought, simply note it, thinking, and return to the breath. Or if a feeling arises, feeling, and return to the breath. The noting is very gentle, not harsh at all. Think of it like a feather, just gently touching the surface of a crystal glass. I'm going to give you a few moments just to keep counting the breath and noting any thoughts and feelings that arise. If you've ever found yourself, one evening, wandering down a quiet street in the rain, looking for somewhere to take shelter, you'll know what a blessed relief it is to find such a place as Rainday Antiques. It hoves into view between two residential buildings. A beautiful double-fronted store with a big window on either side of the entrance. The windows are divided up into square panes, and the glass between the metal bars is ever so slightly wavy, giving the place a dream-like quality. This quaint little establishment stays open 24/7, if you can believe it, catering to international antique connoisseurs who might arrive at any hour and casual passers-by. Which of these categories you fall into, well, that's up to you. On a night like tonight, when the street lamps are fuzzy halos and the rain starts coming down harder so that your footsteps make little slaps and squelches on the sidewalk, there's nothing more welcome than the misty orange light seeping through the antique store's steamed-up windows, and its weather-beaten old sign hanging above the doorway, now creaking a little in the damp breeze, that says, "Come on in, we're open." Inside, Rainday Antiques is as cozy as can be. Push open the door and you'll find yourself enfolded in a set of heavy red velvet drapes. Extra protection against the elements. As you emerge through these into the store, the drapery rings gently as they glide across the rail. It's quite a place. Above you is a domed skylight that looks up into the night. The rain patters satisfyingly under the glass overhead. There's plenty of space to move around, but every surface is piled high with curios, ornaments, and works of art. To the left of the door is a brass umbrella stand, and above it a set of coat hooks. So feel free to unburden yourself of any damp layers and take this chance to really relax. The owner of this charming emporium is a middle-aged man named Henry, a dapper and hirsute gentleman who is sitting quietly in the corner of his kingdom, reading a newspaper. Henry is the kindest man you could ever hope to meet. He's a true listener, and there are very few people you can say that about. If you ever chose to confide in him, you can be sure he'd listen carefully until the end. Then he'd say something very simple, but very wise. Something that would let you know everything's going to be okay. Now, as you enter, he nods at you graciously with an unobtrusive hospitality that says you're welcome to browse in peace for as long as you like. But if you need him, he's right here. In one corner of the store, you'll find a glass display cabinet filled with crockery. If you take a closer look, you'll be able to inspect a striking Art Deco tea set with sharp triangles for handles, patterned with bright geometric squares in orange and black. A small case lined with velvet sits next to the tea set, containing a collection of teaspoons with ornamental handles. You can almost imagine the ambience of a long-ago tea party, the conversation punctuated by the delicate clinking of teaspoons on porcelain, and, who knows, perhaps like tonight, by the comforting sound of rain on the windows. If you ask Henry, he'd tell you that every antique has a story to tell. He likes to say that he never acquires anything for his store unless there's some fantastic tale behind it. His regulars know that's just a line, though. If he likes something enough, he'll just go ahead and make up a story about it. Such as this vintage toy pedal car, which he says used to belong to a member of the British royal family. He hasn't got any paperwork to prove it, unfortunately. But then again, there's nothing to disprove it by. The car is bright green, slightly battered and rusting at the edges, but in its heyday, it would surely have been the perfect vehicle for a young prince or princess to take a turn about the palace gardens. It has a long bonnet, and the rest of the car is all sealed. There's a large cream-colored plastic steering wheel sticking up in the center of the
Hey Siri, turn on sleep focus, please.
Okay, I've turned sleep focus on.
Down outside, Henry, the proprietor, is playing a little light classical music in the background. It's up. When night is falling and the rain is coming down hard, everybody knows there's no better place to shelter from the storm than our favorite 24-hour antique shop. And tonight, it's as inviting as ever. Its windows are blurred squares of warm light, and the door opens to your touch on the brass push plate. Welcome back to Rainday Antiques. It's good to see you again. In the back of the shop, in a corner, a woman sits at a large oak desk, holding a set of silver candlesticks. With a fine cloth, she gently polishes the silver, its surface gleaming just a little brighter with each circular motion of her hand. The warm lighting within the shop reflects from the candlesticks so that streaks of golden light shimmer across the ceiling. Tonight, the shop feels both familiar and new, the happy result of running a store where the stock is always changing. As you know, you can get lost in this shop's treasures. But before you do, let's take a moment for a short exercise. Tonight's exercise is a really simple breathing exercise. So, when you're ready, let's begin. So first, get yourself comfortable. Now, just bringing the attention to the breath. Just noticing where you feel it. In the nose, the throat, the chest, the diaphragm. You're nice and relaxed. We're going to be taking a deep breath in for 4, holding it for 4, and then breathing out for 6. So, are you ready? Let's begin. In for 4, 2, 3, 4. Hold it for 4, 2, 3, 4. Breathing out for 6, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. In for 4, 2, 3, 4. Holding for 4, 2, 3, 4. Out for 6, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. In for 4, 2, 3, 4. Holding for 4, 2, 3, 4. Out for 6, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. In for 4, 2, 3, 4. Holding for 4, 2, 3, 4. Out for 6, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Great. Now, returning the breath to normal. Wandering over to a corner, you find an old wooden printer's drawer pinned to the wall, housing a collection of miniatures. The printer's drawer is the kind they use for letterpress printing back in the day, with a brass handle on top and a series of different-sized compartments, perfect for displaying small things. There's a selection of tiny porcelain pigs with painted noses and slots in their back, piggy banks for dolls. If you picked one up, you'd find the teeniest sticker on its belly marking how many cents or dollars you'd have to part with to take this special item home. There's a fingertip-sized sombrero, a reel of bright red yarn, and a small stoppered glass bottle filled with beads. There's a fringed lamp for a dollhouse, 3 cowrie shells, and a decorative pewter thimble with a unicorn perched on top. There's a chipped cat's eye marble that must have won its fair share of games, a tarnished silver locket with no picture inside, a cute little enamel mouse pin, and a single domino. The rain drums comfortably on the roof and windows, and with each closer look, you spot something you missed the first time. The doors of the antique store have been given a high polish since your last visit, and beneath your shoes, the parquet is a shining maple color. It's the perfect surface to pick up the click-clack of a little dog's paws. Dear Rupert, the store's resident dachshund, trotting over to say hello. Today, he's all dressed up for the occasion of your visit. He's wearing a collar with a polka dot bow tie in front. Looking sharp, Rupert. Click, click, go his claws across the floor as he heads back to his basket. But wait a moment. What's this? There's somebody else in there. A petite grey dog with a long, elegant snout, large, kind eyes, who has been napping in Rupert's basket, gets to her feet. Rupert gives you a quick, eager glance, as if to say, well, what are you waiting for? Get acquainted. Grey dog's ears lift in curiosity as she studies your face, and she offers a short bark of greeting. This is Liber, an Italian greyhound. Liber, in case you didn't know, means love in German, and Liebe is very lovely. Rupert was a bit unsure when he first met her, but now they're inseparable. He hops back into the basket, and they settle down together for a few more much-needed seas. In the center of the room is a stylish mosaic coffee table. The mosaic tiles are the shape of leaves, and the way they're laid together, white, yellow, and pale green, they create the effect of dappled light. You might pull up the footstool nearby and take a look at the album of postage stamps that has been left open on the coffee table. Even a quick glance at this album would tell you that its former owner must have been a passionate collector, not to mention curator. The stamps are arranged by theme: kings and queens, landscapes, popular culture, animals. There's a Polish stamp with a bright orange crayfish in the foreground and an ocean liner in the background. A stamp from Guyana with a pair of toadstools drooping under the weight of their caps. An armadillo from Equatorial Guinea, and a 5-cent Canadian stamp featuring, of course, a diligent beaver. Most of them have the telltale half-crescent postmark in one corner, showing they've been on the journey they were intended for. You might imagine this anonymous collector, who knows how many years back, steaming the stamps from their envelopes or postcards and fixing them with great care into this album, never dreaming of you in the future turning the pages as the rain pours down outside. At the back of the store, there's a door open leading to a room you've never seen before. Business has been going so well that Henry recently had this old storeroom refurbished into something rather special. The ceiling has a dome skylight, matching the one near the front door, and there are windows on all sides, so large it is as though the walls are made of glass. You might think of it as the Rain Lounge. It's really quite special to stand here surrounded by weather-beaten statues, garden furniture, and many plants, their fronds curling romantically round the edges of the room, rain hammering down on all sides. Here's a scallop shell bird bath and a stone cherub clutching a pot of ivy. The plants are not antiques, of course, though Henry might say otherwise. This chaotic but delightful rubber plant, for example, he's been known to claim it's descended from a rubber plant belonging to a famous Viennese psychoanalyst. It sits on a shelf that runs across one of the windows, its branches arching every which way, alongside a collection of trailing plants in terracotta pots. Lighting from the backyard beyond shows off this scene beautifully, picking out objects arranged with care among the pots, like these two balls of colored glass. Vintage Japanese fishing floats. One still held by its net of knotted rope. What seas have they floated in? How far they must have traveled to get here. Henry, the proprietor, isn't here tonight. It doesn't take too great a leap of the imagination to wonder what he's doing instead. He's gone Antiquing, of course. All the wonderful things for sale in his store have to come from somewhere. So, whenever he has the chance, Henry goes foraging for fabulous antiques to keep his store well stocked. Where does he look? Anywhere and everywhere. He loves rummaging around in thrift stores and yard sales, for starters, especially the ones that at first glance don't look at all promising. You never know what you might find. His mission is to make sure his store is never less than a treasure trove for his beloved customers. Sitting at Henry's desk tonight, vigorously polishing a set of silver candlesticks, is his best friend, Dorothea, who always steps in when Henry has to go on a trip. Everybody but Henry calls Dorothea Dottie, but he always pronounces her name in full, taking his time about it. Dorothea. Why would anyone shorten such a beautiful name? He always inquires. And Dottie always laughs like a tray of drinks tinkling and says, "Oh, Henry." To the right of the proprietor's desk is a velvet chaise lounge in faded pink, like something a Victorian lady might recline on to recover from a fainting spell. She wouldn't have the chance, though, since it's already fully occupied by a large gang of teddy bears and dolls. In the center of the group, with his arms propped around the shoulders of two blushing china dolls seated on either side of him, is a classic bear, a golden button-eye jointed teddy with a neatly stitched brown nose and a downturned mouth. If he's concerned about the state of his fur, which has frankly seen better days, he doesn't show it. In his prime, he belonged to an exuberant child who dragged him about by one paw, bump, 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 up and down the stairs of their palatial home. So it's hardly surprising he's a bit the worse for wear. The child named him Bartholomew, after himself. Bartholomew the bear leans in close to the dog on his left, Tilly, whose round pink cheek is pressed against his rumpled one. What are they whispering about? The antique store is really overflowing with stock these days. Henry always lays out the more recently acquired items on a table by the door. It's a higgledy-piggledy collection of all sorts of things. You could take a seat in the ragged old armchair and leaf through this box of original LPs. Whoever owned these was a big fan of reggae. Or this collection of old prints, a miscellany of pastoral, botanical, and architectural drawings. A picture of a speckled trout with a seam of pink running across its middle has been drawn out of the box and propped against a vase by a former customer, perhaps a keen fisherman. And here's a striking etching of a row of trees at dusk. Edition 1 of 20, it says in pencil in the left-hand corner. Quite a find. But soon enough, your eye is drawn elsewhere, to these charming silver-plated opera glasses, or those Staffordshire mantelpiece dogs peering up at you intently. And all the while, your ear is tuned to the gentle hush and rush of the rain. You should be able to spot something new every single time you visit. That's Henry's hope. And he also hopes, of course, that you'll visit again very soon. With so many lovely things in his store, the owner doesn't always find it easy to part with his stock. This magnificent leather hippo has had quite a few offers, but Henry feels the right customer hasn't come along just yet. He's put the hippo in a new, less prominent position, just to be on the safe side. He couldn't let him go home with just anyone. The hippo is tucked away to the side of a bookcase, where you wouldn't necessarily spot it unless you were really looking. The wall above it is hung with paintings, large and small, in many different styles and from many different eras. The largest one has an elaborate gilt frame, several inches wide. It's an accomplished, if not flawless, oil painting of a horse in a wind-blown paddock. There's a fine network of lines crossing the painting, where the glaze has cracked, but this only adds gravitas to the work. The horse is glancing sideways, looking out of the frame towards the viewer, gratified perhaps to be the subject of this painting that has stood the test of time. Here's an Edwardian roll-top desk with the top rolled up, a chair waiting alongside it. A banker's lamp with a green glass shade sits on the top level of the desk, illuminating what sits beneath, a 1920s typewriter. The body of the typewriter is finished in black enamel, somewhat dulled and cracked in places from age, and its round metal keys have cream-colored middles, the letters clearly marked in black. If you were to tap a key, any key, one of the little hammers at the back of the machine would separate itself from the group and leap out, eager to make its mark on the piece of paper waiting to receive it. In the typewriter's former lives, it was kept busy channeling the thoughts of secretaries, legal clerks, novelists, and most recently, a teenage poet and vintage typewriter enthusiast. If it could be put into words, the typewriter typed it. Now this old machine is happy to rest on its laurels, which is to say, on its little rubber feet, remembering the many stories it has told.
Yeah. I'm taking a nap. I think so.
The street is peaceful this evening as the lights come on inside the old curiosity shop. It looks so plain on the outside, you almost didn't notice it. But take another look, because this friendly little place is packed full of curious, wonderful things. And best of all, it's open for browsing at all hours. Is it a store? A museum? A funny kind of garage sale when nothing's actually for sale? No one really knows. But one thing's for sure, it's the perfect place for browsing and dreaming. Before we begin, let's prepare for our visit with a brief wind-down exercise. Tonight's wind-down is a visualization. When you're ready, let's begin. So, just take a moment to get comfortable. Letting go of the day. Enjoying that feeling of having stopped, of having nothing left to do. We're going to focus the attention of the mind on the different parts of the body. Watching as the muscles in the body switch off for the night. Leaving the body feeling rested and leaving the mind more at ease. So, starting down at the toes and feeling a sense of the muscles switching off. The feet, the arches, all those muscles switching off. Same in the lower half of the legs. Notice any tension being let go of as the muscles switch off, shut down. In the upper half of the legs, any tension melting away, being let go of. Into the area of the hips, the pelvis. Again, any muscles shutting down for the night. Completely at rest. Everything from the waist downward is heavy, at ease. muscles in the lower back and the stomach are now switching off. Middle of the back, around the diaphragm, the upper back, and the chest. So, any muscles not needed, shutting down, switching off for the night. The shoulders switching off. The upper half of the arms and the lower half of the arms switching off. The hands, fingers, just switching off. Any muscles around the throat and the neck switching off. The head, the face, the jaw, the eyes. Any last areas of tension melting away as the muscles shut down, switch off. At rest for the night. And allowing thoughts to come and go. Allowing the mind and body the space they need to rest. Two large stone leopards stand just inside the entrance to the old curiosity shop. Not far from the tape player with its overworn buttons. It's playing a classical tune with gently soaring strings. The music is rich with the characteristics of analog tape and all of its wonderful imperfections. The leopards are waist high, weathered and slightly mossy about the edges, as if being indoors is just their day job, and the rest of the time they can be found hanging out in a Victorian landscaped garden, maybe keeping an eye on a fountain, or guarding the entrance to a hedge maze. One of them is wearing a pair of pink, heart-shaped sunglasses. Someone put them there for a joke once. It was a good joke, so they've never been removed. You could think of these leopards as museum guides, or spirit guides, if you prefer. They'd have so much to share with you about the exhibits in this cozy, cavern-like space, where the lighting is low but warm, and the walls are busy with cabinets and shelving crowded with things to look at. If only they could speak. As you might expect, the old curiosity shop is full of curiosities. But if there's one thing it's particularly known for around town, it's the salt and pepper shakers. I was at the old curiosity shop the other day. One neighbor might say to another, "You know, that place with the salt and pepper shakers." The owner has been collecting them since she was a girl, and she now has over 1,000 sets. They're displayed in a long cabinet that takes up nearly a whole wall. So many colors and shapes. A local kid named Arnold once did a report about the salt and pepper shakers for his school newspaper. He was going to make an inventory of the collection. He's an avid list maker. But then he and his family moved away. He still has the beginnings of the inventory in an old notebook somewhere. Pair of porcelain tomatoes, red and green, 20th century. Collected in Dorset, England. Silver carriages, Japanese, 1930s. Plastic corn on the cob shakers, yellow and green, 1960s. Souvenir from diner in Aurora, Indiana. Victorian four-footed shakers, antique. Ceramic kangaroo, pepper, with baby, salt, in pouch, 20th century. Found in flea market in Berlin, Germany. Each entry is accompanied by a sketch of the shakers in question. Arnold is already in a...
Mum Miles Monica.
Guten Tag, Mutter, wie geht's? Wie geht's? Wunderbar.
I like that. That's good. Have you watched any of the inauguration today?
I have not watched any of the inauguration today. happy you're excited.
So you voted for the other person, Harris?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. You know, I never did ask you why you voted for her. What was the one policy change, or what was the one value that she brought to the table that made you think, you know, that's the person I would like to have in the White House?
She wasn't Trump.
So it had nothing to do with her policies and the direction she and Biden took this country. So that.
Well, she's liberal. I'm liberal.
Okay. Do you know why you don't like Trump?
I think he's an idiot.
Okay.
Like, there's footage of him saying, if I ever run for president, I'll be a conservative because they're gullible and stupid. I don't know why you would vote for somebody who called you gullible and stupid.
Well, Biden and Harris called the American people, they called them, what were we? Clinton said we were deplorables. I can't remember what Biden said. I think he said we were dumb or stupid or something, but he actually said it on a mic as president of the United States, not, 30 years ago. But anyway, okay, so you think he's an idiot, so you're not happy. Well, you know what? Your Facebook will be happy. Economically, and Derek, I know, voted for Harris.
Well, like, I'm worried he's going to cut social programs that I depend on for my very life.
Oh, I see. So that's probably the most compelling reason.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. I certainly don't think that's where the cuts are going to come. Um, but I did something almost similar when Obama came to power. I so mistrusted his left attitude toward money and economy and the Constitution. I actually took my Social Security at age 62. I didn't need the money. You're better off if you wait 10 years. I think Dad just started taking Social Security. Your check is much bigger if you wait 10 years or wait 5 years. But I didn't trust Obama. I thought, you know what? You're going to take those of us that have been paying since we were 18 years old, and you're going to take that Social Security check away from us. We earned it. We put the money into it. And we paid for others as we were working. And now when we're retired, you're going to take it away from us. I really felt that strongly. So I've been collecting Social Security for 10 years. We don't need the money. It just goes into the bank and the savings. But I so mistrusted him. So I do agree. I do understand you a little bit. If you did not vote for Trump because you thought he would cut off your social services, your DSHS
Yeah.
benefits, yeah, that I can understand. I don't believe it's going to happen. He's a pretty common sense guy. He lays it out for you. He's never once did it. And I think there would have been a lot of pushback if he did that because we all know that there are social services that are absolutely essential. Well, I mean, you saw with Newsom, he absolutely dropped the ball and didn't do any of the preventative fire measures that are old ideas that have been on the books for a long time. San Francisco uses the ocean. They use salt water to put out their fires, and there's some sort of a process that goes into doing that so that the salt doesn't rust everything or destroy your pipes. But that's an old technology from like 20 years ago. Do you think Newsom did that? No. In Los Angeles County, Los Angeles City, nope, didn't do it. I don't even know what these people. I guess Christie is the only person I know that's gone through a devastation of a loss of a home due to fire. I just feel for those people. I can't believe how they were duped and ultimately let down by their elected officials. So anyway, yeah, I don't think there's anything going to happen to your check. What we're trying to do is get you on SSI. So, and that would be a good contribution for you to show Christie that you've got that money coming in. Let's say it's $1,500 a month. I think you're
It's probably not 1,000 because 1,000 is working full time at minimum wage.
Minimum wage is $20, so 20 times 40 times 4, that's $3,200.
Oh, I'm mistaken. I was recalling that my paycheck used to be $1,000, but I didn't get paid per month. I got paid for 2 weeks.
Oh, okay. Yeah, once you're on SSI, we'll see what you're allowed to earn, and if, through your work, this data analysis certification that you're working on, you can only take, I mean, you can arrange it that you only work, let's say, 10 hours a week, so that you're not earning more than to disturb that SSI.
Right. So, did Brian talk to you about our discussion this morning?
He did a little bit. He said that, as far as he understood that Christie's family has now officially sold the house.
No.
Okay. Then he misunderstood. What did he tell him?
The buyer accepted a counteroffer for an amount of sale price.
Okay, so what does that mean?
That means they're in the process of closing, but technically they could pull out consequence free.
It's too late in the process. I don't think so.
They've already pulled out before. They were supposed to close before Christmas.
They must have had some paperwork in place to allow them an extension. You can't just willy-nilly do that. When contracts are signed, um, there are escape clauses. For example, one that is often put into a contract if you're going to purchase a house is you accept the terms and you want to buy this house for the set amount, but it is subject to a structural engineering report or what is another word for it, an inspection. And if even one thing is wrong, you, as the buyer, you can back out. But you're long past that period.
Okay, well, I think more what I was getting at is his discussion on a certain electronic item for Christmas.
Yeah,
PlayStation.
yeah.
I'm very excited.
Okay, that's a Brian discussion. That's not a mom discussion because I don't know the first thing about that.
Well, you know, the PlayStation is a game console,
Yeah.
and I've grown up with the PlayStation, PlayStation 2, PlayStation 4 I have right now, and Brian just ordered me a PlayStation 5.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know if he actually placed the order, but we talked about it.
Well, he probably has or he will do it.
Oh, happy anniversary, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
And I just bought a new camera, and I just bought a new headset because I've been sort of struggling with my old headphones. They don't connect to my PlayStation anymore, and even if they did, they don't have a microphone. And so I'm like, should I even replace the microphone? Because what's the point if I can't game with it?
Oh, yeah, good point.
And it doesn't work on cell phones anyway, even with a mic.
So, what kind of PlayStation did you choose?
A PlayStation 5.
Okay. And can you do a lot of stuff on it?
Yeah.
Good. I hope you hear from that SSI, the DSHS people pretty soon.
We won't.
I know.
They take their time with everything.
When you signed the ROI, you remember seeing a paper that said, release of information for DSHS?
No. There was employment history, something with Alexandra Ogova for Compass. Then there were two more. I don't remember. It could have been. I don't know.
Okay. All right. Well, we have her phone number. We can verify that she's received that. And you faxed everything on Friday with Dad.
No, we don't have a fax, so he just snail mailed it.
Like you're kidding. Why didn't he go to Staples and just fax it?
Probably cost too much money.
Well, cheaper, I would have paid for it.
You know what? I don't know his motivations. He's an enigma.
Yeah, but the snail mail means it takes so long to get to the right person. Faxing, there are only 4 people in that office for the fax, so any one of them could have picked it up like tomorrow morning and started working on it.
Yeah,
Did you take a picture of what was in that envelope?
I think Dad did.
Okay, I might ask him for that because we can pay for the faxing.
He already mailed it.
Well, I know, but if you took a picture of it, then he could send me the picture and then I can fax that to them. Or, maybe get a cell phone from them.
Uh, sure. I don't know.
There could be a sense of urgency here because this has been going on for so many years. And this is probably the 5th time or 6th time that we've tried to help you. Yet this is as close as we've ever come. And now we actually have the fax number of one of the 4 people that works in the department that helps people like you that need to submit their application for supplemental income. So, well, you know what, we can call her and figure it out and see if she's received it. If she hasn't, then we can, see if we can't get something from Dad to get those pages to her.
What do you mean to see if she received it? It's been one day. It was mailed after business on Friday, and then there was Saturday. That's one day, and then Sunday and Monday are both holidays or weekends.
So they probably wouldn't even get it until like Wednesday or Thursday.
Doesn't it take like a week? All right. I don't know why you want to fax it if it's already in the mail. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Well, it's a couple minutes to snack. I'm gonna eat some sugar and drink some coffee. Snack is always high sugar, high carb. It's like a cookie or something. Um, then I don't know. I tried some programming earlier today, and I can't seem to figure it out. I'm like stuck. So I asked Colin, and he said to try a certain website called Kaggle. So I googled my problem in Kaggle, and I didn't get any hits, and so I tried looking through tutorials where I like Google my error code, and they're like, "This is the solution," and then I do it their solution way, and I get a new error, and I'm like, "Come on!" It's very frustrating. Essentially, I can't get my compiler, which is something that makes code work. I can't get it to load my data set. So I can't do any analysis because it doesn't know the numbers yet. And I think I've narrowed it down to the chief problem. It's the directory is different than where the Excel file is. So it's looking in something called cloud, where I don't know where that is. And I needed to look on like my hard drive. So I tried the function change directory, and it says error, cannot change directory. I'm like, okay.
Oh, man. So is your head exploding yet?
Yeah. But I already did the analysis in Excel. Basically, I'm done, except for I have to do all these other steps for the capstone to be valid. But like I have the data and I have an analysis. Basically, I identified the most popular episode. It's season 6, episode 2, called oh gosh, what's it called? Pantaleones. And it has more views by I think 30% than the next highest rated video out of 84. So like that's a dramatic lead. Every other episode in season 6 has much fewer, has actually the minimum of any of the other seasons. All the other seasons had more views than all the rest of season 6's, except for that one episode which has more than anyone. So like, is season 6 popular or not? Inconclusive. It has both the least popular and the most popular video.
How do you reconcile that?
I conclude there is no correlation for popularity in reference to season number.
Okay. All right. So, do you have a way of putting that answer into the program so you get credit for it?
Well, I made a graph, made a couple graphs in Excel, so that's pretty good. But what I need to do is repeat my findings using other tools to show that I can do it. So I'm trying. I'm starting with R because for no reason it's like a bulleted list of things to do, and it's just the next one down. So may as well start with that. I gotta get it done eventually. And I've been struggling with that all day yesterday and all day today.
Oh, that's frustrating. You don't have any other students that you can talk to, right?
Well, there's plenty of people taking the course.
Yeah.
I guess I could post in the Coursera forum.
Well, yeah, that's up to you, and if you can find somebody. But you know what? Tomorrow everybody will be open, right? The school will be open. Is there actually a school like a?
No, it's an online certificate.
Oh,
There aren't even teachers.
okay. There aren't even teachers.
They basically filmed all the lectures years ago, and all they do is they put little notes. If there's something that's different between what was filmed and what is currently existing, they'll be like, note, this button has merged with this other button, so instead of hitting file, hit edit.
Okay.
And you'll be like, okay.
Well, I don't know about that. That's
Well, I looked it up today, and according to Kaggle, which is, according to Colin, a reputable programming source, Coursera is one of the most respected teaching courses in the field of programming. And it very much has value to show a certificate to a prospective employer in lieu of work history in that field.
all right.
But after you get some work history, they pretty much just care about what you worked on. And the certificate kind of matters less and less the more work history you get. Kind of like when you get your degree, you're like, I have a degree, please employ me. And then, after a couple of years, people are like, okay, yeah, but where did you work?
Oh, I see.
Anyway, my coffee's getting cold.
All right, Mr. Love you.
Ich habe dich lieber, sehr lieb.
Ich habe dich auch so lieb.
So lieb, bis später.
Okay, tschüss, tschüss.
Tschüss, tschüss.
Bye.
Bye.
few places in the world quite so serene as Loch Dormant. Its position is one of near perfect isolation. High up among the rolling, seemingly endless moors. It may not be the most famous loch in the world. It may not even be the most famous loch in the country. And yet, it is special in its stillness and its mystery. The water here is calm, magisterially so, and therefore its effect on the mind is calming too. Its very presence insists upon tranquility, reminds you that tranquility is a naturally occurring phenomenon. From here in the lodge, we have a superb view out over the loch. And it's this view that we'll be enjoying this evening. We'll be drinking it in, lingering long over the details of the environment, its landmarks, and its wildlife. Before we do, I think it's nice to begin with a little wind down. Tonight's wind down is an exercise we call noting. It helps to soothe the mind, and once you've learned it, you can even use it if you wake up in the night. We're going to be counting our breaths, and then just gently noting thoughts and feelings as they arise. We're not trying to change them. We're simply labeling thinking as thinking, feeling as feeling. It may sound incredibly simple, but it can help to create distance between ourselves and the thought, ourselves and the feeling, so we don't get so involved in it. That in turn creates a more restful state of mind. In other words, the perfect state of mind for gentle, restful sleep. So to begin with, just take a moment or two to get comfortable. Make sure you're nice and cool. Just starting with some nice, big, deep breaths. Breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth. And with the next out-breath, allow the breath to return to its natural rhythm in and out through the nose. And just feeling the weight of the body pressing down into your bed. And in your own time, start to count the breaths as they pass. 1 with the rise, 2 with the fall, just up to a count of 10. When you get to 10, you can stop and start again at 1. And remember, anytime you get distracted, the moment you realize you're distracted by thought, simply note it thinking and return to the breath. Or if a feeling arises, feeling and return to the breath. That noting is very gentle, not harsh at all. Think of it like a feather, just gently touching the surface of a crystal glass. I'm going to give you a few moments just to keep counting the breath and The lodge here was built long ago. The oldest sections, the kitchens and the great room, are more than 300 years old, in fact. But today, it has all the trappings of comfortable Highland living. Deep buttoned, wing-backed armchairs, a large stone fireplace fed in the winter months with fragrant fir wood, a red patterned Turkish carpet worn almost threadbare in places, particularly in front of the fire. Various paintings showing natural subjects, including stags. Well, rather a lot of them, actually. And many distinguished-looking ladies and gentlemen in clothing from times gone by. There are also pictures of the landscape in its various seasons. Here, all covered in snow. Here, when the heather is in full bloom and the moorland is a purple blanket, gently stirring in the sun. Here, at night, when the moon is doubled by its reflection in the water. No one knows quite how deep the loch is. No plumb line has ever reached its bottom. And no one has ever seen fit to apply more advanced technology to it. And isn't it better that way? Numbers are only one way to measure a thing, after all. Better to imagine its depth. It could be as deep as the mountains on either side are high. Or it could be as deep as it is still. That would be very deep. It could be as deep as 10 double-decker buses or 3 T-Rexes standing on each other's shoulders, if one could even imagine such a thing. The truth is, when it comes to its depth, we just don't know. It's one of the mysteries of Loch Dormant. It is so very deep and very still. Opposite the fireplace is a large set of windows, occupying most of the far wall. These offer an exceptional view out over the loch. Although we're high up in these mountains, the surrounding hills shield the waters from the westerly winds, which, blowing in from the sea coast, howl around the peaks just 2 miles from here. Here it's very calm, very serene. This evening, especially so. It's warm and cozy in this room. And the lodge's resident dog, a large old boxer known as the Commander, is asleep by the fire. His large the wings outspread. The feathers at the tips splay out like fingers. They have a feel for the air's invisible currents and know how to turn them to their advantage. The way that a good skier can recognize a fast slope and turn their skis to ride down it. The eagles fish for the large salmon that live in the loch, dropping out of the sky like a stone.
Mic check.
And bearing the fish off back to their nests, high up on the craggy peaks. Quite a lunch, and quite a view to go with it. Loch Dormant is longer than it is wide. On a map, it looks like a great, long blue finger pointed out in the direction of the sea. Our lodge sits at its easterly tip, which means that some way off, we can see both its north and southern banks. Its western edge being hidden by the slight curve where the hillside juts out into the loch. Nearest us, the bank is gradual, and there are reeds which perforate the silver surface of the lake, and a pebble and sand beach where the peat meets the water. But on the northern side, the loch's shore drops off suddenly. It's a local tradition to swim in the loch on a New Year's morning. Sometimes they even have to break the ice to do it. A gaggle of brave men and women flock to the bank in their bathing suits and swimming caps and dive from a rock straight into the icy water. It's one way to start the year. Certainly, everything after that would feel like a walk in the park by comparison. The little beach beyond our veranda is a great place to skim stones. One of the prime locations for stone skimming, maybe in all the world. The urge is irresistible. There seems to be an
Ty?
inexhaustible supply of good,
Oh, Richard.
flat, round pebbles to skim.
Let me turn this off.
Spread them in.
I can't watch your stream. It's like just a loading screen. Yeah. No, let me refresh first. I think that's it. Okay, yeah, it's loaded now. Okay, yeah, it's loaded now. Yeah. I need a new computer. Somehow Microsoft Edge opened. I didn't ask it to do that. Why did that open? It keeps doing this thing where like it goes behind live. Why doesn't it just assume I always want to watch it live? Have you eaten yet today? Good. Cool. Got him. Oh shit. I think she might have missed though. Stop resisting. Who's the chameleon? Or whatever that is. I got some really cheap soda. Damn, that was sweet.
Alright, here we go.
Is this a boss battle?
Yep.
It looks nothing like her. That Heartless is squishy. Oh, it has multiple. Okay. Nice.
Oh, he did.
That sucks.